Hey everyone. So a week ago here, you saw me crash my tricopter into a creek at a local fishing spot pretty close to the house here. I've been letting my tricopter dry out all week. It's been sitting in front of the heater vents and, just haven't really touched it since I pulled it out of the water and disconnected the battery. But I was starting to get curious as to, what actually goes bad when one of these things does crash in the water. I'm a little concerned about the electronic speed controls and about my KK2 board. I'm thinking the receiver is going to be alright. But I've also got a couple other little things on here. I've got these blue LED strips for the front and a red LED strip for the back, and that was to help give me orientation when it was high up in the air. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take an old battery. It's been on its last legs for a little while, so I'm not destroying something completely brand new. And I'm going to plug this thing in and see what actually still works and figure out what I'm going to need to replace, and we'll see if any smoke comes out. So why don't we set this thing up and see what happens. Alrighty here guys, so I set up in our spare bedroom here. Don't tell my wife, especially if I end up putting a hole in the carpet, with a little fire here. But I've got my transmitter armed. It's ready to go here. And I've also got my older battery. This is actually from the original Blade 400. I've had it for quite a few years, and it's like I said, it's on its last legs. So let's plug this thing in and we'll see what happens here. Look at that. Alright, well, it looks like all of my LEDs are working just fine down here. My KK2 board is in safe mode. I've got my transmitter, or my receiver is flashing, so I should have good signal there. Let's flip this thing over. Alright, it actually looks like all of my LEDs are still working fine, which is quite a surprise. none of them even appear to be burned out. These were not the waterproof LEDs. I decided that it would be a good idea to try and save, what is it, a $1.50, extra to get the waterproof LEDs. But, so I'm going to go ahead and, whoa, that was kind of strange. All right, we are now armed. All right, so this guy, he's having some issues. He's just kind of bouncing back and forth here. Actually, kind of violently. So this ESC is definitely bad. I don't think it's the motor. The motor seems to spin just fine. Way to go is I just shoved my arm right in the camera there. So that guy's going to need a little bit of work. But I mean, the tail servo seems like it's working fine. And then the other two servos seem to be, or ESCs seem to be working fine. It's just this guy. And he is all screwed up. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down. I'm going to put it back in safe mode here. We're going to see if we have that same hiccup again. No? Everything seems to be fine. So my LEDs seem to be okay, on all three arms, even though they're not the waterproof LEDs. My front left ESC and my rear ESC seem to be okay. I'll probably replace them anyway. They're only the cheap, Hobby King 20 amp ESCs. Tail servo seems to work fine. KK2 board looks fantastic. It's not showing any signs of damage on it at all. My receiver is fine. My motors seem to work okay, with the exception of my front right here. And it's going to be a little while before I can figure out whether it's the motor or the ESC that's been damaged. If I was a betting man, I would put my money on the ESC, but So crashed it in the water a week ago, let it dry out in front of the heater all week, and the damage to it appears to be minimal. So I'll let you know definitely what happens with this front motor, and we'll get her back in the air before too long here.